Creator, and think about really where our paths need to be in life, and have those conversations with our Creator. I just invite anyone who doesn't have that conversation currently, that God is always listening, that He's always there, that He cares about each and every human being, and He wants the best for us, and He wants to have a conversation with us. He wants that conversation, He wants that. And when you consider that the entire creation, it was not only created, but it's being recreated every moment of every day. I call it the rubber band theory. You take a rubber band, and so long as you got it stretched out between your fingers, there it is. You let go of it, it goes back to its state that it was in. God took creation from nothingness, absolute nothingness, and He stretched it out, and we have creation. And were He to let go of it for a moment, we go back to non-creation. Right? So God, everybody that we love in our lives, and everything that we love in our lives, is only here because of God. Only here because of God. So I encourage that conversation. Yeah.
Ready for a question?
Yeah, you spoke about when you first met your first wife.
Yes.
What moved you to your first experience with Chabad? I mean,
Well,
because to me, that's the seminal thing, what that contact was that started you on your path.
okay, I was not looking, I have to tell you that.
Yeah.
I had moved back after our divorce. I moved back to San Diego to be close. And the interesting thing, that we got a divorce after, as long as we were fighting against the world, we were okay. Once we had both made it professionally, and once we had both made it socially, and we lived in a community, we didn't have to worry about, it was an accepting community. Once we had things, and our kids were doing good, I trained our daughter Kenya as a runner. She had a world record. She set a world record in the 440 for her age group. And as a kid, our son Eddie, I trained him in football. He went on to become a star college football player and was offered to play professional football. The kids were doing good. We were doing good as a family. And that's when a lot of the stresses came out. It was after the divorce that our natural daughter insisted on living with me. And because I was working in this situation like a fireman's shift at the probation camp, I could live anywhere in Southern California, but I was gone for 2 days a week. We'd stay overnight, and then, I had off 4.5 days, and I worked 2.5 days, but I needed to take her back to San Diego with me in order to have help from my family in raising her. And while I was back in San Diego, and I have to tell you, I was away from my family for a lot of years, because in the beginning, my parents could not handle this. So I stayed away in order not to create a problem. And we actually did a reconcile before our divorce. That was another thing. It was going good. We did a reconcile with my family before the divorce. Okay? So things were fine with the family. Anyway, our daughter insisted on living with me. I'm moving back to San Diego so I can have help from them while I'm at work. All right? And back in San Diego, I want to reconnect up with all my brothers and sisters, 5 of them. So I went disco dancing with this sister. I went to movies with this sister. I went to psychology classes with this sister. I knew what they liked. I did karate with this brother. And with this brother over here, who had gotten involved with Chabad, I didn't know what to do with. So I went with him to a Chabad house. Okay? So, and I say I wasn't looking for anything. But so it came about anyway. God had His own plans. He had His own plans.
You were looking for joining your family again.
Yes.
That's godly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
This brother, is he an elder or younger brother?
He's an older brother. He's 1.5 years old. He's the one whose picture you saw in the. Okay?
And you have another elder brother, or he's?
No, he's it. He's it, and then the others are all younger. Yeah. That
So he had a
picture.
lot of, you looked up to him?
Pardon me?
You looked up to your elder brother?
I was really estranged from him. I mean, he came to UCLA after I was there. He had been at UCSD, came up to UCLA. We were not, and we hadn't been together for many, many years. So I was just looking to do something with him.
Yeah.
In the same way, did I look up to him? I don't, you know, I don't know how to answer it. You know, we were close, but I didn't look at, no, my path in life was very different from his. I saw him as kind of straight and square.
Right, now they learn on the phone every day for
Yeah, I
like
would
2
guess.
hours.
And we've done that. Yeah. Oh, in fact, quite frankly, when I went with him to do something with him, he took me to the rabbi, to meet the rabbi.
Yes.
So I threw out the same questions that I had as a kid, that I thought I had figured it all out, as a kid. And the answers that the rabbi gave me were different from what I expected. They came from a whole different place,
Uh-huh.
okay? A whole different place. So it kind of took me off guard, right? And I would come around once a week to meet with the rabbi, just like once a week I go disco dancing, right? So, so this went on for a while. And then at a certain point, I would ask questions each time. But at a certain point, I thought that now my questions were getting deeper and the rabbi was not going to be able to answer them. But I had gained an appreciation for my brother and his lifestyle at the same time. I'd been to their house for Shabbos and so forth. I did not want to rock his faith.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So now I wanted to meet with the rabbi without my brother because I didn't want to ask a question that the rabbi couldn't answer that would rock my brother's faith.
I see.
Little did I know that the rabbi still had answers to my questions. Okay?
Yes.
All right. I hope I answered your question.
No,
That's very great.
Yes.
So, are you in fact a Rebbe yourself, and do you practice in San Diego?
I'm not a rabbi, just Jewish.
Never just
Just
or
Jewish.
two.
Karen, what's your question? Karen?
Oh, you had mentioned something about, you were gonna say why you didn't have pictures of you.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. So when we got divorced, I took, first of all, I gave our photo albums to my wife, my ex-wife, because she's got the kids, and let them have all, mostly it was them anyway, I was mostly taking the pictures, but there were some pictures of me, right? But I gave the photo albums to her. I took everything that reminded me of her. All the mementos, all the little gifts, all the things that she had given me. I had taken my diary, which now I regret, of all those years. I separated that from the rest of my diary. Some of the information tonight I wrote, like when I was on the Tunabot, these were firsthand because I was writing it down then. The trip to Mississippi, etc. I took all of that and I put it in a pillowcase and I walked to the end of the Manhattan Pier and tossed it all. Okay? The few pictures that we have since resurfaced, that our kids have kind of maybe scanned and sent a couple pictures to us, you know, here and there. But that's, anyway, that's why. That's why.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking, I forgot. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we got
Just
rushed
to
on,
conclude.
yes.
Based on your growing up years, how have you raised your children? Like Adina, I don't know how many kids you have, but have you been a father that lets your kids pick their own paths? I mean.
Yes, but they've picked paths very similar to ours, my wife and I. And I credit my wife for all of that, okay? Sasha is our oldest. She's gone, okay? Sasha is our oldest. She was actually born in New York when we were living in New York, but then the first couple of years of her life were spent in Sfat in Israel, when I was in Kollel there. And I've got amazing stories from Sfat. Those will wait for another day, okay? It's a very mystical town, and very mystical things happen to us there, which if I hadn't seen with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. Okay. Sasha was our first, and then Shmuley was born actually in Yerushalayim. We were living in Sfat, but we went down to Yerushalayim for his birth. He was born in Yerushalayim, so we call it Dor Rishon Yerushalmi. And he is an accountant. He's actually a controller of a company. He went to Yeshiva Root, and then he went to Yeshiva University, and he got his degree, and he is an accountant in Los Angeles. And Adina, of course, you know. And our youngest, Yonit, married somebody who is not Chabad, but he's Orthodox. And he's very, very warm to Chabad, and he's a lovely, lovely guy. He is actually right now doing a pediatric dentistry, what do you call it? Residency in Philadelphia, and so they are there for right now. So they've basically all followed our paths. Don't know what to say. It's the mother's doing that, nothing to do with me. Yes.
What kind of relationship is there between you and the children from your first marriage, children and stepchildren,
Okay.
and your current, your children that are here.
Okay?
How did it all work out?
That also was miraculously good. Miraculously good. First of all, after our divorce, Kathy was able to go on and do the things that she wanted to do. She shared the Ebony Awards with Colin Powell.
Wow.
She was voted Woman of the Year by the Girl Scouts of America
Wow.
and Role Model of the Year by the YWCA. And YWCA? Yes. And she is in the Alabama Hall of Fame. She was able to go on and do things that she wasn't able to do when she was married to me. The kids were also able to go on and do wonderful things. And we are still in touch today. I mean, I have a good relationship with Kathy, but I hardly ever see her or talk with her. But Kenya, my oldest, and I'll show you also how God works in mysterious ways. All right? When Tamar and I asked the Lubavitcher Rebbe for a bracha to get married, which was the customary thing to do in those days, okay, to ask him for a blessing. We also asked for a blessing to have children. We were already in our mid-30s. Didn't know we'd be able to have children, but I wanted very much to have children. And that first divorce put a big hole in my heart. And the Rebbe gave us a bracha to have children. So it turns out we had them in the same ages and sexes and constellations as the first marriage. Right? Starting with, so Kenya was the oldest. 2 years later was her little brother Eddie, and then 1 year later was Tamu. Okay. All right. So we had a girl and a boy and a girl. So same thing in this marriage after the Rebbe's bracha. Sasha was our oldest, a girl. 2 years later, a boy. 1 year later, a girl. Okay. And then Yonit came along as a bonus. And there are actually a couple of fantastic stories that maybe I'll try to do it very, very quickly. There was a police brutality incident in Compton dealing with my same neighbor, Frank Patino. When I had come home from work one day, he called me over to, I'll try to do this quickly. He said, come over and have a beer with us. I said, no, I gotta get it. He says, it's our anniversary, come have a beer. Go up on the porch, he hands me a beer, I'm on the porch with him and his wife. The cop car drives up, says, everybody against the car. Frank says, I know my rights, we're not doing anything wrong, I'm on it, The cop didn't say anything. He got his radio in a moment. We were converged on it. They didn't even park parallel. They just nose first to the curb. They all get out of their cars with billy clubs, start approaching us. He says, one of them says to me, come down here. I came down. He says, turn around. He handcuffs me. Then they go up on the porch and start beating the stuffing out of Frank Patino, the Latino. Okay? And his wife is jumping on their backs, trying to pull them off. Kathy runs out of the house, see what's going on. She's screaming. 9 months pregnant. One of the cops hits her in the belly with his club, and she lost that baby. In this marriage, we had an incident where Tamar, in her pregnancy, started bleeding. We go to Kaiser. The doctors, this is on right before Shabbos. This is on Friday. We go to the doctor, and at Kaiser, and they examined her. They took tests. They did X-rays and tests and things, and the doctor comes out to me and he says, I'm sorry to tell you, your wife has got a molar pregnancy, which means it's a cancerous pregnancy. And he says, your wife will probably not live. And he said, they're going to do a DNC on her, et cetera, and I can take her home in a few hours. So I go back to our house. It's a few hours before Shabbos, but in New York, it's already, Shabbos is about to start. I call the Lubavitcher Rebbe's office. And Rabbi Benjamin Klein answers the phone, the Rebbe's secretary, who my wife had a personal relationship with him and his wife. It's almost Shabbos there. I'm surprised that they're answering the phone. Okay? And he says he's going to go into the Rebbe's going to pray for her. He says, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. Okay? I go back to the hospital. I pick up Tamar in a wheelchair. We head back home. We get home. We're so close to Shabbos that we didn't know if it was Shabbos or not. So we couldn't light. So we light an extra candle to this day. And that really represents the neshama of that baby that was lost. Meanwhile, I'm still thinking about what the doctor says to me about Tamar. And I'm in a depression. Days are going by. And the Rebbe had come out with a new campaign. And Tamar had gone back for more. I came out with a new campaign that people should put up a charity box in their kitchen. And I'm not in the mood to do anything. But I say, all right, I'll do this. And I'm hammering up this charity box in the kitchen when the phone rings. And it's the doctor from Kaiser. He says, I don't understand what's going on here. You know, we've done more tests on your wife. It's like she never had a molar pregnancy. We can't figure out what's going on. She's normal like anybody else. I knew it was the blessing of Lubavitcher Rebbe. Okay? How did I get on this? Okay, anyway.
The
we
same,
talked-
the same thing.
Yes, so just like we lost a baby in that first marriage, we lost a baby in the second marriage. But God was kind to us. He came along. He gave us Yonit a couple of years later. So that's our youngest one as well. Okay. What you asked about the relationship with the kids, it's fantastic. So we had a bas mitzvah a week or so ago for Leah, Sasha's daughter, and who comes to it? Kenya. Kenya came. Kenya came to it. And not only that, but it was her birthday. We celebrated her birthday there at the same place afterwards. We had a cake for her and everything. She was fantastic. Tamu, my daughter, was also there. Okay. Eddie, I speak with on the phone. He lives in Arizona, so we're not as close as I am with the girls. Tamu and in Kenya have got children. They call me Zadie. I've got black grandchildren. They call me Zadie. Okay, so it's all good. I hope that answered your question. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Thank you. Great to be here. Great to be here.
We get another adventure every Shabbat with.
Well,
You're abroad also.
Yeah, I've got some very early morning.
I hear new stuff every time I hear my voice. Yeah, I think that'll be our programming.